Hello, everyone. So, I just want to go into some details on the new cabinet that was just elected there and the new government. I have long grievances with some of the ministers. They probably shouldn't have got half of them shouldn't have got into office anyway. The Irish probably should have voted them out. But again, that's democracy. People vote them in. But I really, really wish in some cases here, which I'm about to describe, I wish the people sat down and looked at it because I don't think people look before they vote. They just kind of go into the voting booth and just put an X wherever, to be totally honest. It doesn't look like they sit down and think about it. Like, I sat down and thought about it very intently, who I was going to vote for, etc., etc., and looked at everything. And I know many people don't have time to do that, have work, that have family. I understand that. But I do think they should have looked into it. Because, again, it's not that you just put an X in the box. It's the next 5 years of either torture, we're going to be torture and hardship and struggles for young people particularly, because again their future's going down the drain as quick as we can say it, because to be told the amount of people going to Dublin Airport and going away never to return is telling enough. That's all you need to know. When you look at that, you're like, we should be we should be looking at everything that these people are doing. But yeah. So the first person I would talk about is now used to be former Minister of Education. She was the worst. There's never been a clearer thing said. I think everybody universally would agree. Teachers, the parents' union, the teachers' union, student unions, whatever you may say. Everybody in the mother, the man, and the cat and the cat and the dog on the street would say the same. That Norma Foley was the worst Minister for Education in the Irish state's history. She was no addition whatsoever. Like, you even have to go back to when I was in the Leaving Cert. Back in 2020, the country was locked down, etc., etc., and the predicted grades and all that. Do you remember the huge, for about 7 to 8 weeks, she was kicking the Leaving Cert down the road, and wouldn't make a decision and ran away. And especially sometimes you can't even find Norma Foley. Like, she disappeared for weeks and weeks on end, and nobody could find her. She went into a bunker somewhere or something like that. Nobody could find her. So basically, there was a crisis, and she basically ran away, and basically begrudgingly give people predicted grades. But what I'm trying to say is it was a disaster. It was a total disaster, because it's the fact that she wouldn't just take a decision saying, this is ludicrous, let's just do it this way, instead of causing all this disruption and ruckus, because that's what it was about. And specifically for me, just knowing, are you going to do the thing or are you not going to do the thing? Make a decision, yes, no, maybe, please, instead of going up and down and talking nonsense. And then obviously you couldn't even find her to talk nonsense because you couldn't find her. And not to mention too, we see in the schools at the moment they want to teach children extremely, extremely serious stuff to do with sex education and stuff. Like borderline paedophilia. I would go as far as nearly saying that. But that's what they're teaching. Norma Foley's the person responsible because she's the Minister of Education. So, and Helen Mackley's not going to be much better. That's another one we'll talk about in a second. But, Norma Foley, on her watch this has happened. I know she keeps saying it, but the teachers literally have come out, special education teachers have come out and said about it, that were trained to do it, etc., etc. And Norma Foley doesn't want to talk about it, just wouldn't address the issue. But it definitely is happening, 100%. And then we have many children, but I know she's not, Josephine Mannikin used to be the Minister for Special Education, but particularly it does have to relate to Norma Foley too, in terms of children, particularly children with special needs, autism, extreme learning disabilities, etc., etc., can't get places in school because there's no place for them. And not to mention there's no S&As too, so that's another thing, that's a whole other confuckery thing that she's caused and overseen. Not to mention then, we go on about the school bus transport. Now, I was affected by this. I paid nearly €500 when I did go back to school that time in 2022 when I was doing my leaving cert and stuff. I had to pay €500 because I didn't get a bus ticket. I used to pay €500 for a taxi in and out, €500. And I know it sounds much, but that's how much I had to pay. Because I didn't get my bus ticket. Simple as that, didn't get it. But I got it eventually. But again, long story short, there was a lot of hardship and a lot of ache and pains over it. And then not to mention she made it free for people then the year afterward. And then nobody could really get a seat because all the seats were taken up and they didn't put in extra buses. Or loads of bus drivers were tired too. And then they didn't take on any new bus drivers. And there was a whole clusterfuck. So it was a disaster. It was generally a disaster. Not to mention, I could go on. Like, anybody want me to go on? I could go on and on and on. Not to mention in some areas in the country they can't get teachers. As simple as that. They can't get teachers. They have to get trainee teachers. Some of them are not fully even qualified, or get out of it, etc., etc. Because they haven't got the teachers. Because they're all leaving because they're not getting enough pay. I could go on. I generally could go on. Not to mention, I generally could sit here for an hour talking about it. But long story short, it is a national disgrace, in my opinion, that the best person we can get for the Minister for Children and Disabilities is Norma Foley. Because consider what she's done for children in the past, and what I say about the sex education, etc., etc., school, like borderline paedophilia, in my opinion. And she's in with children now. I don't think that should have happened. I don't think she's any additional disabilities either. I don't think she gives a shit about anything, to be totally honest. I think she's just an anarchist that doesn't care about anybody. To be totally honest, that's to be upfront with you. But yeah, Norma Foley definitely shouldn't have been any other. She shouldn't have been elected in the first place. People care we shouldn't have elected her. But that's democracy. But yeah, but she shouldn't have been in the government or in a ministerial office. Because she's incompetent. Totally incompetent. Doesn't give a shit about anybody. Totally honest with you. So another one I have a big issue with is the Chief Whip. Now, it used to be the Minister for Older People and Mental Health. She still has the title of Mental Health, and the Government Chief Whip is Mary Butler. Now, I have loads of issues with Mary Butler, particularly now. I used to never have issues with her about 3 years ago. Particularly when Cavan, as you know, I've said it, I'm blue in the face saying it, to be told, and she knows those. I'm very vocal about it, and all the TDs and all that know about that, so because they've been telling about it, it's all been talked about. Particularly in Cavan here, it's been atrocious the last few years with the matter of young people committing suicide. And some of them have to pay for private counselling. People have to pay for private counselling because CAMHS, you wait 5 months or so in Cavan to be seen, just to be put on a piece of paper saying, you know, we'll get to you at some stage. That's not even to mention getting treatment. So that tells you all you need to know, and that's the HSE one over Mary Butler. It's a disgrace. And then not to mention, so sad recently, a charity in Cavan and in other parts of the country, that's a charity, doesn't look for money of people and listens to people's concerns and stuff. It's a mental health charity. Voluntary, you give voluntary donations, not a government charity, funded by the government. But yeah, Mary Butler sat in her arse for a few months and she decided recently enough to give the money. Thankfully she did. She finally seen her sense. But in November, she said it'd be emergency funding guaranteed to only get the funding now in January. And that's an emergency fund that took a few months. But it's the fact of the matter, there was no communication. And so sad too, had to beg the public and had to beg people to raise this issue because Mary Butler would not respond and would not answer the question. So she's no addition, and not to mention a few issues down in Wexford too in terms of that. But she's failed as Minister for Head to Health because there's so many young people too waiting on lists to be seen, just to be seen by CAMHS, etc., etc. And there's far too many young people whose mental health's not been taken seriously in schools, etc. The amount of suicides have gone up, particularly in young people. And it's all at the end of the day, it's Mary Butler's the woman over it. She's responsible here for it. And that's the bizarre, and there's nothing really has changed. To be straight up honest in Cavan particularly, nothing has changed. I have seen nothing in terms of CAMHS or anything being reformed. We're seeing Kerry children being left on medications for years. God knows what damage is done to them. But we could go on. We generally could go on, but I shudder to think how many young people a year commit suicide in this country. I shudder. Under 18, I shudder to take it. Because it's not being talked about, it's been forgotten about, it's been pushed to the back boiler. And Mary Butler doesn't seem to really care. In my opinion, she doesn't seem to really care. And she's done no addition. There's no addition in terms of mental health. Whatever but the government chief, if she can get that title. But particularly mental health, I don't think she should have been let keep that position. To be told, in my humble opinion, that's my reasons behind it. If you voted for Mary Butler, you're perfectly entitled to that. But it's just my reason. But look at the trail behind her, I suppose. Let's put it that way. It's the same with many of these people. Look at the trail behind them before you make an opinion. Because I've looked at all this. And I know about all this. And I could go on. There's more things I could say, but we'd literally be here 6 hours if I went on about different things. The next issue is not that much, but I don't think Simon Howes are tarnished as Minister for Foreign Affairs now in the Feds. I don't think Simon Howes was the man for the Feds, to be totally honest. Like, the Army's in a pitiful state, particularly the Navy. The Air Corps too is in a pitiful state. The Army in general, but the Navy is the main issue at the moment for me. We only have one ship on the high seas because they can't get people. They don't want to pay people. That's just the simple answer. It's not that they can't get people. They don't want people to work for nothing, pretty much. And why would you work for nothing, to be totally honest? These people over getting paid thousands every day. So you couldn't. Simon Howes couldn't work. Like, pretty much the Army's probably going to get worse. He's not a person that knows anything but the Feds. To be totally honest, I don't think he really cares about the Feds, to be totally honest, because this issue, he's been the Taoiseach for a while now. Nothing has changed in the Feds forces. Nothing has changed. Things have got worse, if not more worse than before, if it could get any worse. But yeah, long story short, Micheál Martin, Simon Howes, been there for a long time now at this stage. Fianna Fáil, Fianna Gael, say pretty much the defence forces are one down to the last. And Simon Howes has been there, as I say, for the Taoiseach job. Nothing has really changed. Ships are still lying in dock. I could go on and on and on and on. But you get the gist. But yeah, Simon Howes is no addition as Minister for Feds. He's no addition in general, to be told and say. He's not the best person to have the Taoiseach's job too, but shall we see what happens, I suppose, there. So the next issue I have, I'm sure everybody in the country nearly has it, and God only knows who voted for. It's Helen McEntee. Now, she topped the poll in the one constituency, but she was Minister for Justice before we know about the hate speech bill, as I say. She's going to be Minister for Education now. Helen McEntee is no addition to anybody. Crime is, like, look at her reputation left behind. I don't understand why people voted for. Crime has gone through the roof. Immigration is a joke. Checking passports is a joke. It's not even probably done in the state, to be totally honest. So it's just basically open doors, pretty much. Crime has gone through the roof. Prison spaces over capacity. There's nothing been done about it. Not to mention people on parole, etc., etc. You're getting out, and it's insane stuff that's happening. And not to mention Garda numbers have gone down, etc., etc. Garda stations, a lot of other Garda stations have closed, etc., etc. This pretty much rural crime has gone up, burglaries have gone up, all this has gone up, violent crime, murder, etc., etc. Pretty much everything. And to kind of reward her, now it's obviously a downgrade from Minister for Justice, but still Minister for Education, I don't think she's any addition to anybody. And I don't think to our young people particularly, I don't think she's any addition to the young people. But I could be proven wrong, but her track record is that she has done really nothing of any addition, to be totally honest. And not to mention then the hate speech, as I say, the hate speech bill. But Helen McEntee shouldn't have the job. It's as Minister of Education, shouldn't have it, and really shouldn't be in the cabinet, shouldn't have been elected in the first place too. Her reputation is extremely bad in terms of what she's done. I don't know why people voted for her in her area, but if you just look at her track record as Minister for Justice, it's atrocious. Some of the crimes that have gone on in the state were allowed to continue, and people got off with them, etc., etc. It's insane. And the immigration problems, as Minister for Justice, the Department of Justice has to find a say in immigration in terms of deportations, self-deportations, all the usual crack you hear all the time about. But all that was just a farce the last few years, pretty much. So nothing has ever changed. Helen McEntee's going to make a farce of the education system. Same with number 40. She might not be as bad in number 40. At least we can give her that, maybe. But I don't think she's the person for the job, to be totally honest. And that's to be totally honest with you. I generally don't think so. The other issue I have is the fellow that we probably know COVID loves to party. Is Darragh O'Leary. We remember him from Golfgate. He went on the news and said that it was only a few days in as agriculture minister and he got the sack because of it. And now he's back in the cabinet. And especially a very high role too. Minister for Social Protection is one of the highest roles in the state, in the government. Over social welfare, community development and all that. And rural affairs, etc., etc. and the Gaeltacht. It's a very high position, and I don't think he should have ever been. I think he probably should have left politics altogether. I think he should have got the boot. Because particularly he broke his own rules that he was saying to people not to break, etc., etc., and he went off and done them anyway. That's what I'm saying. So, I don't think if I was Taoiseach or even Taoiseach, I wouldn't have let him get back into the cabinet. I would have told him to go and leave. He's no good of a public servant. But that's what I would say. But as I say, Irish democracy. Because I don't know why people voted for them, but the only reason why people voted because they were pretty much bribed with everything they could get. Pretty much there was money for this, there's money, loads of handouts, etc., etc. That's pretty much what happened. And again, a lot of people now have very short memories in terms of these things, because people don't even remember that. But I remember it, and I don't think he should have got it. A social protection minister, even rural affairs, etc., etc. I don't think he should. To be totally honest with you. The other person that had an issue was the Minister for Housing. The former minister, as may I say. He's Minister for Transport now and the Environment, so pretty much Eamon Ryan's job. And as we just heard earlier on, I just mentioned earlier on in my other video, that the housing targets for last year weren't met. So the government are talking out of the arse. I remember Simon Harris, Micheál Martin, the Minister for Housing, Darragh O'Brien, saying 100%, 100 billion%, we would get 40,000 houses last year. Well, we were 10,000 short because it was 30,000, which sounds a lot, but as the ESOI said, we need to get 40,000 every year. 40,000 every year. If we go under that, we'll not be able to meet our targets to house people, because there's that many. There's more people coming in than there's being housed, and you never can keep up pretty much. And especially now when you're 10,000 short, because they said 40,000 annually houses. When you're already 10,000 behind, you're pretty fucked. And it's pretty damning, especially when you hear every day it's housing. But it's pretty damning when you see the same crowd that were in before said, "Oh, so the Irish people, we've done great. We've turned the bridge," and 10,000 short. Now I know houses don't go overnight, like they just don't pop up overnight, etc. I understand that, but it's the fact of the matter they weren't going to be honest. Obviously the government knew this. They knew this at the election time. They knew this in November. They knew this in December. They didn't want to really enlighten us to say, "Oh, we're 10,000 short." And the only reason why they're saying it now because the election's all done and dusted. Why do they care? They're there for another 5 years. But yeah, it's pretty damning. pretty jamming on Darragh O'Brien, and he probably shouldn't have got transport and environment. Particularly in the transport, we need to upgrade our transport system, etc., especially railways and stuff. We need to kind of figure that out. We need to get that going, and not even to mention Metrolink, etc., etc. Nothing's ever achieved by Darragh O'Brien, etc. Every target the government sets on anything to do with Darragh O'Brien always doesn't make it. So even if they said they were going to build Metrolink by 2030, for example, which would be insane if they came up with that in 5 years, they never do it. They never could do it, even if they mustered everything in the state. Let's put it this: even if they said the Metrolink could be up and running by 2050, that's not going to happen, because it go way over budget, and the usual carry on. But we shall see. But I have many issues to the other people. That's just only a short issue. I could go on. Like, the list could be endless. I could be here for 6 hours. But yeah, there's lots of issues. These people shouldn't have probably got elected in the first place, but that's democracy. People have spoken. We have to respect that, I suppose, at the end of it, and I do respect that people had their say and voted the way they did. Regrettably, we probably regret it, but people don't remember what they did before. People have short memories. Now, I do have short memories, I remember them very fondly. I remember everything they do. So I think about that in the next election. Don't worry about that. I won't forget anything they do in this government either. It's ingrained in my memory, anything they do. But long story short, nothing's ever going to change in any regard. Maybe in small ways, 1 or 2 ways. But long story short, same old, the gravy train continues.